Hello guys, this is Theo Concept here. Thank you for joining me. If you have been following my page, then you know I haven't put out content in a long time, and that's because I had an exam last week and other things, so I just had to cut it. But now I am back to shooting YouTube videos and I'm very excited. Okay, how to find your style in photography. Yesterday, I had an Instagram live with Mr. Brian Bauti, a top photographer in Abuja, and it was very exciting and good. Thank you to Francis for hooking me up with Mr. Brian. Thank you, Mr. Brian, for allowing me to have this Instagram live with you. Okay, straight to the point. During an Instagram live, I asked Mr. Brian, what is a photography style, and he said,
Styling photography, it's relative, depends on every photographer. Do you understand? It's relative. It depends on what the photographer is trying to interpret. Like you, for instance, your style could be exactly my style, and as much as you have other photographers out there.
Unlike types of photography, photography style encompasses a lot of things. So we can't just say there are types of photography style. We can just appoint photography styles to people, since photography styles include a lot of things like your lighting, your composition, your framing. So we can't usually say this is and this is. We can only say, okay, this photographer has this style, he likes pictures contrasty, this photographer likes his pictures dreamy, you understand. So that's what we talked about, and then talked about why it is very important to have a photography style. And he said,
and developing a style is it's very key. It's very important in photography that every photographer has a style, because you're identified with your style. You understand? This is something that if someone sees your picture, even before they see your logo, they'll be like, I know who took this picture. It's Theo Concept, because this even before seeing your logo. You understand? That's what it is, and people get to fall in love because of your unique style.
Because it makes you stand out. It helps you stand out. It makes you your photography style is more or less your logo. So photography style is very important. Then we said, how do I overcome doubt? Probably you've figured out the photography style. How do I overcome doubt? And he said, just stick to one style. Take the time to find the style, and once you've found it, stick to that style. Don't change, don't go about, because if you keep on changing, that means you haven't figured out your style.
Okay, now if you already have a style and you are still taking inspiration from other photographers, then you don't have a style. Do you understand? For you to arrive at having a style, trust me, at that level, people have already accepted your style for what it is. Do you understand? For you to have a style, you must have already accepted, because you don't just develop a style in one day or in 1 year. It takes years, most times, for you to develop a style, because that style has to stand you out and make it different from other people. If you have a style, in fact, your style is your logo. You don't need a logo. Once you have a style, you don't need a logo. So for you to have achieved or attained the height of having your own style that is unique to you, you don't turn boss.
If you find other people taking your pictures to other photographers and snap a picture like Theo Concept, that means you've found your style. So keep to a style and do not continue changing. Okay, I'm going to be giving you 5 steps to take to find your photography style. I'm just going to be, as I said, listing out what Mr. Brian said yesterday. The number one thing you need to do is find inspiration. There's inspiration everywhere. You have to do your research, you have to read books, you have to go around, you have to reflect on and know what is it, what type of photographs do I love seeing, what type of pictures do I love seeing. So you have to go out there and find inspiration. The second thing you need to do is, after you've found an inspiration, okay, this is the type of pictures I would love to take. The next thing you need to do is to find a photographer. Man, someone has gone there. There's always someone that is ahead of you. So someone has gone there to figure out all the things. You do not need to start learning, doing everything from the beginning. So figure out a photographer, find a particular photographer that does what you want, and die on their Instagram, will I say, or find a photographer and then look at their pictures, study their pictures immensely, look at how they do their things, just find that photographer Once you find the photographer, you're good to go. Third thing you want to do is imitate. I know this might sound controversial, but you have to imitate. You have to imitate everything the photographer does. Imitate the style of the photographer, because the thing with style is it involves a lot of things. It involves your color grading. It involves your styling, how you let your styler styles the person, your makeup, your lighting, your composition, your framing, all these things. So for you to find that style, you have to copy what this photographer does. Look at his picture. If it's possible, if you can hit the photographer up, but I don't think that's possible. Copy what this photographer does. You understand? Like, look at what they do, copy it, imitate. You have to imitate everything. You can't just imitate one. You have to imitate so that you can be at that point. Once you're at that point, you move to the next step. The next step is to evolve and adapt. Now you're done copying, but you can't keep on copying for a long time. Copying, let's say copying is the stage where you learn, but now you want to be your own brand. So you have to evolve and you have to adapt. You have to look at your pictures. Now take out elements, add elements. Probably you were lightening this way. Now figure out the way to light different. You have to reflect more. Now you have figured out your style, but you can reflect more. You can reflect, think about, how can I do this differently? What more can I do to add to this picture? How can I do this? How can I do that? Just reflect, and over time you find yourself that you have actually moved away from this style you had to a different style. The fifth step is to be patient. Mr. Brian said to be patient. It takes a long time for you to find your style. Even the photographers that you're trying to imitate, it took them a long time to find their style. So you have to be patient with yourself. You just have to put in the work. Hard work pays. You're not going to find your style in 1 day, in 2 days, in 1 week, in 1 month. You just have to put in the work. Okay, I think I've given you 5 steps to take to figure out your style. Now at the end of our Instagram live, we started taking questions, and it was very, very good. In case you want to watch it, I'm going to put a link in the description below. Now for some general advice, Mr. Brian gave us some general advice in line with finding your style, and the first thing he said was to practice and shoot more. Practice. You can't keep on looking at Instagram pages, at pictures. You have to go out there, practice, try this, try that, work with different models, work with different stylists, work with different environments, work with different things. That way, you keep on building up yourself, and over time you find your style. The second advice he gave us was to reach out to a photographer to work for them. Most likely, most at times, to work for them for free. So reach out to a photographer that is close by. Reach out to probably the photographer that you're imitating and tell them you want to work for them for free. Please be humble. That's why he gave us the advice. Be humble, catch head, and that way you are more likely to be accepted. It's much more easier to work with someone because they're going to teach you, other than like working on your own, because it's going to take time. Anything that works for you, but that's a great advice. The third and last advice he said was, don't allow your clients to change your style. Now probably a client might come to your studio and say, look at this picture that this so photographer took, please take a picture of me like that. You have to tell them, no, kindly, no, this is not my style. You should probably go meet the photographer that took this particular picture, because most of the time they'll bring you picture of a photographer that his set self is not up to the amount they are paying. You understand? A photographer might have invested a lot to get one particular picture, and then they just want to bring it for, and they might not be willing to pay. So if it doesn't fit your style, just tell them, you know what, thank you for reaching out, but I don't think I can shoot the style. I think it will be better, and that way you're going to build up credibility. You're going to build up, people will be much more, people will trust what you're doing. So those are the 5 steps, and this are advice that Mr. Brian Bouty gave. Okay, so thank you very much for hanging around. So through the live yesterday, there were some few accounts that stayed along and asked questions, and I just want to be thanking them. Especially I want to thank Onabuje. he asked questions rather, and it was very, very insightful. Thank you J Prime, thank you Watches Moreng, thank you Ayonio Segun, thank you Franello Photography. He asked the most question. If I'm going to give an award, I should be giving Franello, Mr. Francis. Thank you Eva Pearl, thank you I Am Jane, Sam Keys, Nazbella Makeup, it's Shets Gill, sorry if I don't pronounce it well, Joy Paul, Ajo Studio, Panex J, Ayoniolo Shogun, Nims Pixel, Asmatic Jane at Cabal, and everyone that joined Instagram live yesterday. Thank you very, very much for sticking around. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave them in the comment section. I would try my best to forward your questions to Mr. Brian if it's not for me, but if it's for me, I'll try my best to answer your question. So please recommend what type of videos do you want me to make. Do you want me to do more Instagram lives? What type of videos? Please do that, and thank you very much for sticking out. See you in the next video. Peace.